Hello there, I'm Sean Greasley and welcome to volume 11 of the Visual Basic tutorials. In this tutorial I will be discussing the functionalities of for loops within Visual Basic. Okay, if you've read through and watched the last tutorial on while loops, you will get a pure understanding and you know which example I have in front of me now. Okay, the rules in Visual Basic and other programming languages is that where you have a while loop, you should be able to have a for loop which functions in exactly the same way. You may now be wondering, should I use a while loop or should I use a for loop? Well, that is totally up to you. If you know how many values and how many iterations the loop has, then it's good to use a for loop because you can put a target. You know where the loop ends. But with a while loop, it does repeat infinitively until you tell it that a value is less than a certain range, like so. But because we know how many values there are, like such, we can use a for loop in this example. To use a for loop, you don't change much at all. You change the while to a for. We are using a for loop, remember? Okay, to end a for loop you put next, like so, and the header of a for loop is similar to a while loop, but it's quite different in its appearance. So what we do here, we go for our temporary variable equals 1 to our target. Let's bracket that. Oh, it might not like the brackets actually. There we go. Okay. Therefore, we don't actually need to initialize our temp variable because it is actually done in the header of our for loop. As you can see, this is how it will work. For our temporary variable equals 1 to our target. So this is what we're doing. It will equal 1 on our first iteration, then it will equal 2. If this is number 5 for example in the text box, then it will be equal 3, 4, then 5. That will end the for loop. To end the for loop, you can either put next, or you can put next temp var. If you have more than one for loop in your program, say 3 or 4, by putting next temp var at the bottom, you know which for loop this next belongs to. So it's good coding practice to put this here. Because it's a for loop and it's defined here and it will auto increment, we do not need this line here. Because the for loop header automatically increments it for you, it's a built-in function. But we do still need to define it there. So hopefully this should work in a similar fashion to the last tutorial. Let's save it. We are using loops, things can go wrong. Okay, let's display the number 5 here. 1 message boxes, 2 message boxes, 3, 4, 5. Let's enter number 2, 1, 2. As you can see, it works in exactly the same fashion. Where you have a for loop and you know your target, you can use a while loop as well. It's good practice to use for loops when you know how many values you are using in the program. I'm Sean Greasley. You have been listening to volume 11 in our series of VB tutorials on for loops. I hope you enjoy the other tutorials on the website, and goodbye.